I am Shari, for those of you who don't know me. I am a human design alchemist with a specialism in embodiment and business. Essentially, what my role is, what I love to do, is to reconnect you with your sovereignty so that you can create impact income in a way that is aligned for you. And actually, it's an absolute life changer in every area of your life. So, what I want to talk about today is about power, passion, and profit. I'm going to caveat that with I've literally just got back from the gym, threw a bit of lipstick on, can't really even see. So I'm a little bit disheveled. My legs are still a bit shaky from the gym, but it's all good. We're here. So I want to talk about power, passion, and profit in your human design because I think one of the things that when we're looking at human design, by the way, if you don't know human design, it's the science of your soul. It holds the answer to every question you ever had about yourself. It will always bring you back to your unique design. It's a little bit like astrology on steroids. And so, what it holds within it are all of the answers for everything that you want to create, what you want to step into. What I see that is happening the most is that one of two things. Either people are massively overwhelmed by human design, they don't know how to move forward with it, they don't know how to make it tangible, they don't know how to actually integrate it into their lives. Or the other thing is that you have this experience of going deep into the rabbit hole. So it's either too much so I don't move, or I'm too deep into the rabbit hole and I'm going to figure everything out before I do anything with it. And so when you're in that space, it's adding loads of information into your mind that is not necessarily supportive. And I want to explain why before we move into the power, passion, and profit piece. Why it's not necessarily supportive is that if you are getting your information from Instagram or something like that. I mean, I'm here for it and I put out that kind of information too. But I want you to know is that that's a snapshot, that's one piece of your chart. So, as an example, I'm a 5-2 generator. And the generator energy is to respond and to be lit up and to be moving forward with what feels really juicy and alive and literally lights me up and brings energy to me so that it brings energy to everybody else. That is super aligned. My profile, the 5-2 profile, is a little bit like projector energy in that there's a lot of projection like inside of it, and also because it kind of goes deep. It goes deep in the same way that projector's energy does. And the reason why I'm sharing that is because if you are aware that your chart is holistic and you can start to move with the things that are going to support you the most, then that's when the magic happens. So for me, how this really came about was through integrating in my business and doing a massive transition in my business. By the way, I'm like the queen of reinvention. If there's a reinvention to happen, I'm here for it, whether it's myself, whether it's projects I'm working on, whether it's, supporting people who are going through that. This is like really potent. And so I've done this so many times in my life, which is how I discovered human design. It changed my business. It fundamentally changed how I show up for my business, how I run my business, how I position it, and created way more success than I was ever creating in what it was before, which was an agency. It was very different. But beyond that, it has changed how I relate to people. It has changed how I parent. It has changed how I show up for health and well-being and, nurturing and nourishing myself, all of those things. And so what I want to break down for you is how you can start to understand these elements for yourself. And there's three key sequences within your human design, which are like an introduction to gene keys actually. But the reason why I always start with human design is because your auric field is super important. If you do not know what gene keys is, don't worry. I'm going to break down the sequences and talk about the different sequences and share a little bit more about that. But ultimately, if you are working with your human design, the first thing, and arguably the only thing you need to master, even though we all want to know all the things, of course, we're in the age of self-awareness. The most important thing, let's put it that way, the most important thing is understanding your aura. In fact, when I was introduced to human design, I was told it was the science of the aura. And when I understood that, like my brain's very scientific. My brain went, oh, that's exciting. My body is very intuitive. And my body went, oh, that's exciting, because it had that amalgamation of like what my brain could get on board with, what my body could get on board with. And it was really beautiful. And it's the science of the aura because your type, whether you're a manifesting generator, projector, or reflector, is linked to how your aura shows up in the world and what your strategy is. And your strategy for the purpose of human design is literally like your operating system, how you're designed to operate in the world. And when you work with how you're designed to operate, what you bring into your auric field will be aligned. It is more aligned. And from that place, you are going to really master everything else inside of your aura. The reason why it's really important, and the reason why I don't always go into, gene keys or the nuances or the details or all of the different things that are held within your human design, and gene keys stands alone. Like, some people love going into gene keys. For me, what is really important, and what I think is really important from my understanding of gene keys, but also my expertise in human design, is that the auric field is the most important piece. And so whatever the gene keys are, if you put them in different kinds of auras, they will show up in different ways. They will operate in different ways because your operating system is literally designed by your aura. The reason why I'm sharing this first is because if you are new to human design, still listen. Of course, what I'm going to share, I'm hoping will open some pathways and some little portals of curiosity. But what is always going to be the most important is to tap into your aura. So even what I'm going to share about power, ultimately your power comes from knowing your aura. That's the main premise that we want to play with. Okay. So I'm going to share with you about power, passion, and profit today. So the reason why I want to share power, passion, and profit with you is because these are literally the codes, the sequences behind scalable, sovereign success. Whatever area of life you're in, if you're in business, or if you're manifesting, or if you're being intentional about what you're bringing into your reality, then these are really important to understand. And what's really behind this for me is to let you know that this level of leadership, prosperity, and influence is inside of you. Like, the answers are already there. And if you're creating anything in the world, these sequences will really give you the understanding of how you can move with it instead of trying to figure it out. I was in the gym earlier and I was listening to a podcast that was talking about how to manifest. And it's really interesting for me to listen to it because I know my human design works differently to most of the manifestation processes that are shared in the world. So having that lens of clarity and understanding of what works for you doesn't stop you listening to those things. It doesn't stop you from investing in programs or getting support in certain areas. What it actually gives you is a level of discernment to understand, is this for me or not? Can I align this with what is going to work for me with my energy, so that I don't have to work harder, so that I don't have to wait longer, so that I don't have to force and push and put pressure? It actually is going to liberate what is already inside of you. So I want you to be aware that this is more about bringing clarity and liberation than it is to say nothing else out there works. It's doomed. Anything you've invested in is not going to work for you. That is not true. I listened to this whole process and I was like, that is so interesting. Like, I can see, because I understand energy, how that process works, and I know how I can overlay my power, passion, and profit on top of it so that it works for me. Okay. So power, passion, and profit. The reason why I've shared this specifically is because I find that when you tap into your power, when you can really lean into what moves you and how your energy works, it takes you out of that space of survival. It takes you out of that space of, I don't really know what works, so I'm going to try and figure it out and do all of the things. It takes you out of that busyness. When you can really tune into power, it not only allows you to understand your purpose, but it also allows you to understand how you're designed to move with this. And when you are not moving in alignment from that place of, okay, I need to tap into my evolution, I need to tap into what is going to support me on an energetic, on a health level. And I'm going to break this one down for you, actually. I'm not going to break all of them down because like time but I'm going to break the power sequence down for you. But when we have power, then we move into passion, and passion is where you unlock what, you know, literally the passion inside of you, but it's also about emotional intelligence, emotional resilience, how you relate to people. Now, whatever area of life you are in, if you do not know how to relate to people, then life can become very tricky, it can become very challenging. If it's your children, your partner, your friends, your clients, your co-workers, having that understanding of how you naturally go to relate and how you naturally navigate emotions and have this emotional intelligence, emotional resilience inside of you is super important. It's also really important beyond that, because actually what it does is it gives you the keys to move from where your power is into a place of expansion. If you've ever been through a period of expansion, or what other people call the up level or quantum leaps or any of those things, which is a natural part of evolution in life, this is what we're here for, is to always be tapping against the edges so that we can move into a place of, you know, expansion. That place of expansion is a minefield. That place of expansion is chaotic. That place of expansion can be dark and unsettling and full of fear. And so when you understand your power sequence and you understand your passion sequence, what that is actually going to give you is like a literal blueprint. Hold on. A literal blueprint of what you can support yourself with when your fears, when your emotions become a lot, because they do. I've done a whole training on how to be a hot mess and have it all, because we all go through that. It doesn't matter what your Instagram reel says, it doesn't matter what, you know, the highlight reels on your social media. Everybody goes through that hot mess express stage, because that's the chaos, that's where the magic actually happens. But it's so misunderstood. Like, this place of the liminal is so misunderstood, and we don't know how to navigate it because we haven't been taught how to connect with our body, how to support ourselves in our body, and how to navigate emotions in a really empowered way. Most of us, right? We were taught to be logical, we were taught to be in our head, we were taught to be like, figure it out, get the solution. That doesn't support you when you're in the liminal, when you have the biggest opportunity to create magic. The liminal is where the manifestation is born. The liminal is where the magic happens. But if you're in free fall and, you know, being the hot mess, and you think that that's everything's got to change, or I've got to start or I've got to go back to where it's safe, then you are stopping the magic in its tracks. So when we explore passion in a minute, that's where we move into from the passion sequence. Then profit is literally how you move into wealth. How do you move into a place of wealth that supports you? And wealth is, I want to kind of reframe what wealth is. Yes, it's being resourced and supported by resource. And I'd like you to really think about resource. This is one of the key shifts that I create in human design, because most people have an undefined resource center. And there's this kind of legacy understanding of human design of that's where the money is created. And it has a literal, one of the channels of it, the 2145, is the channel of, it's called the money line. I call it the resource line. Because when people have it, if they do not have money, they think that there's something wrong inside of them. Why am I not creating money? I have this money line. I don't have money. What is wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? And when people don't have it, they think they can't create money because they don't have the money line. And none of that is true. What is actually true is if we switch that money piece that is coded in human design and turn it into resource, how do I get to be resourced is more powerful, it's infinitely more potent. Because anything that you desire in life, anything that your heart wants, if you think about it now, what is one thing that you would love to have? So, for example, one thing I would love to have right now is a beautiful house in Italy with a gorgeous swimming pool. And there's this kind of, I guess it's a charity or a not for profit that I want to create that supports people with suicide prevention. And I would love to host in that house in Italy. I would love that. So then your brain instantly goes to, right, I need money to make this happen. I need money to build the charity. I need money to advertise. I need money to get support there. I need money, blah, blah, blah. Right? That's what we've been taught in life. You need money to get the thing. The truth is this. I could go into partnership with somebody who already wants to be a philanthropist in that area. I could go and create investments. I could rent a house. I could, like, there's so many different ways that I can be resourced in order to create that. And the biggest thing about this shift is resources, not only money. Resources also, how are you taking care of yourself? Am I actually physically, energetically, emotionally resourced for this? And this is where we need to really tap into, because wealth, if you look at the etymology, the way that the word wealth has come to be, it actually stands for health and well-being, or well-being and health, like that, probably that way around. Well-being and health. If you do not have well-being and health, you are not wealthy. And so when we're looking around at the world of where we've been really conditioned to sacrifice in the name of money, sacrifice in the name of success, sacrifice in the name of legacy, profit, wealth, all of these different things, that is not the paradigm that we're in now. And that is not of service to you, to your body, to your legacy, to what you're creating, what you're putting out into the world, any of it. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. I'm like, okay, we did a 20-minute intro. Let's get a wiggle on with what I want to share with you. Okay, so let me start with the power sequence. The power sequence is really about your power. It's your purpose. It's your connection with your body. It is ultimately the foundation of your genius. And when it is disempowered, and you can see where you sit with this, like, I invite you to drop into your body and to really feel into, like, what is true for me in this moment. And it doesn't mean anything about you. It's just about being openly, like, gently curious about what is true for you in this moment. So what is true for me in this moment? If this power sequence is disempowered, you might find that you're in an energy of proving or pushing or performing. Like, how do I keep doing? It's literally overworking or doing all of the things, or throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what is going to stick and what is going to work, because you have a lack of clarity. And where this shows up, particularly in business, is where you're chasing strategy. Like, I'm going to try this strategy, I'm going to try this strategy, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And I mean, honestly, the whole world has geared you up to move in this way because it's trained you for instant gratification. All you've got to do is put on Facebook and you can see a million different perspectives about, well, this is the thing that is going to change everything. No, this is the thing. No, this is the thing. And when everybody's kind of shouting like that and you're getting blinded by the beautiful lights of all of their headlines of, I made 7 figures in 7 seconds or whatever it is totally unrealistic and doesn't really tell you the depth of the work that's gone into it, then it's very easy to be distracted and be distracted and be distracted. And again, when we look at human design, that's because most of us have undefined head centers. So we have this kind of shiny object syndrome that's going on, and squirrel, 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 like there isn't a focus. And that comes from a real root cause of being trained to be in our heads when you are supposed to be more in your body. but the world didn't teach you to be in your body. It didn't teach you to trust your body. And so then we have this kind of shiny object syndrome, instant gratification. Tried it, didn't work, move on. Tried it, didn't work, move on. That's not how business works. And that is definitely not how embodiment and energy works. So if you're feeling any of those things, then the first place to look at is your power sequence, because when your power sequence is aligned, when it is empowered, when you're working with it, you become unwavering in your confidence and your clarity. You really tap into being, unshakable with, this is where I'm moving, and I know in my body when it's time to pivot, to move, but it's probably not as fast as most of you are pivoting and moving, in truth. When you have this power sequence in a really empowered way, your brand becomes energetically coherent, and you magnetize whatever it is you desire with your aura and power. And it's not only, clients, it's not only money, impact, all of those things. It's anything. What do you want to experience in life? Where do you want to go on holiday? What are the joys you want to tap into? This comes from this power sequence. Now, I want to share with you where this sits in your human design chart. Okay? And I would love to share my screen to do that, but I can't because Facebook Studio freaks me out, honestly. So I'm going to explain it to you. We're going to do our best. Hopefully, you have your human design charts in front of you. Hopefully, you can navigate this with me. If you can't, please ask me questions, and please feel free to reach out. I was just thinking, probably got a book I could share with you, but anyway, we're gonna do it this way. When you look at your human design chart, there are rows of numbers down each side of the picture in the middle. So there's rows of numbers, and they represent the planetary alignment and the certain gates or the energies that link up with those planets. And from that place, you are going to look at what's on the right hand side. That is what is conscious. I know when I hold my hand up, when I'm holding my right up, I'm really noticing its mirror. Okay, so I'm just going to use the words and not my hands. When you look at the right hand side, the planets that are shown on the right hand side, they are going to show you what is conscious to you. That means you are more aware of them, and that is what is in your mind. That is what you become aware of in your mind. On the left hand side, that is what is unconscious to you, and that is in your body. When we look at the unconscious is what we're here to make conscious in this lifetime. It's what we're here to learn. Think about where people have most of their, where they're living out most of their life. It's in their unconscious. We have 3 to 5% of conscious thought that we can make changes in our lives through. The majority of what we're experiencing, of how we make a cup of tea, how we drive a car, how we deal with challenge, how we emotionally react to certain situations, most of that is inside of our unconscious. And because of that, we have to understand that in human design, where we're looking at our unconscious, that's where we're more likely to feel or experience our not enoughness, our shadow, and the things that are disconnecting us from our sovereignty, our power. So when you look at both of those sides, we're going to be working with the top 2 planets. The first planet on both lines, the top one is the sun, and the second one down is the earth. And these actually collectively make up your incarnation cross, which we're not going to talk about so much today, but it's same, right? It's all similar. Your incarnation cross is what I would call your story of your life. It's like the hero's journey. It's the plot line. If somebody were writing a movie about your life, then this would be, on the back of the I was going to say on the back of the video box, really showing my age, on the back of the, I don't know, the Netflix blurb. So that would be what was there, because that is always playing out. Your incarnation cross is always playing out. You can probably see what it is on your human design chart as well. You can see what that's called. Mine is the cross of masks. I am really good at adapting and pivoting and changing as situations and circumstances require of me. So when you look at those, this is your power sequence. Those 4 numbers are your power sequence. And I'm going to run through them, but I'm also going to share with you that you can ask me questions if it kind of like it is sometimes more confusing when you can't see it. So I'm going to do it. We're going to stay with it. Ask me questions. So on the top right hand side, that is your conscious sun. Now in the power sequence, this is about how you are actually here to shine your light, how your not your radiance, let's not confuse the words, it's how you're here to literally shine your light in the world. This is the energy that is going to be emitted out of you. Is that a good word? Emitted? Shine. We're going to stick with shining because it is the sun, right? This is your conscious sun. This is the energy that is going to be shining out of you the most. When I do any work with people on their business, this is what we tune into from a brand perspective, because this is where your impact really shines. It's your leadership, it's your visibility. Okay. The gate below, the planet below, the conscious earth, this is where you are designed to evolve. This is where you're designed to keep growing. This is where you're designed to really tap into over and over again, because the more that you are grounded in this energy, the more that your light shines, the more the sun shines, because this is your conscious earth. Think about it literally like grounding into the earth so that your light can shine big. Okay. You might find that there are parts of your journey that bring about evolution in this space, because the more that you go deeper and deeper into this, the more you are attuning to your evolution so that your sun can shine. Okay. I'll give you some examples in a minute. Actually, no, I'll give you an example now. So my conscious sun is in gate 7, and gate 7 is the power behind the throne. It's about using my direction to lead a collective without having to be at the forefront of the leadership. So that is what I'm here for. That is what my work is for. It's literally for me to support you in rising. How I ground into that, how I support myself, is in my conscious earth, which is gate 13. And gate 13 is the listener, which is really potent, right? I'm a great listener. But what I also listen to, and this is where the challenge is, I also listen to stories that do not serve me, or I hold on to my own stories that do not serve me. So my evolution comes through knowing and discerning between the stories that are supporting me, the stories that are true, the stories that are empowered, and releasing the stories that are not true. Okay? So have a look at your gate numbers and see. By the way, I have got something that will support you with your conscious sun, which I'll share with you shortly. Have a look at your gate numbers and see how they show up for you. See what they are bringing through. And again, ask me questions. If you want me to look at your gates, I'm happy to. Hold on. Stop the phone call coming through. I'm happy to give you a little bit of guidance around that. On the other side, so when we look at the sun on the other side, I've had to do so much work on releasing stories that don't serve me anymore, right? It's a big piece. We can all find meaning and resonance with certain stories, particularly when it's outside of us. You know, there's a lot around how the collective creates the conditioning of the stories that we hold, but also how when we're growing up and, you know, the different experiences we have with our family or relationships or work colleagues or clients, and all of those lead into different stories that we hold about ourselves. So it's really potent to recognize that and to release them. I love that for you, Callie. I love it for all of you. Like, tune in, find your stories, use this as an invitation to find the stories that no longer serve you. When we look on the unconscious side, your unconscious sun, it's still the sun, right? So it's still moving this beautiful, gorgeous energy outside of you. And so this is connected more with your radiance. And this is what is keeping you healthy, what is keeping you vibrant, what is magnetic for you. What is the thing? When I think about radiance, I have a whole program about radiance actually. Radiance is what I tune into around the feminine energy. And if you think about the feminine energy, it's about the being, it's about the body, it's about being and having the energy shining out of you anyway. It's not about what you're doing, it's who you are. And so the more that you can connect in with this energy, the more it will shine out of you. But you don't necessarily see it, because remember, this is in your unconscious. So other people will see it. Other people will say things like, "Oh my goodness, you are so like this. You are so like this." You're like, "Am I?" Because they're showing or reflecting back to you what is mostly unconscious. And so we're making the unconscious conscious by looking at what is my unconscious sun. What do I need to be aware of? And what's really important with this one actually is understanding when it's disempowered. Then your radiance, your energy, your body, your health, your well-being is also depleted. So when you look at that, it becomes really important to recognize, for all of them, all ends of the spectrum, but this one is one that you might not always know because it's unconscious. The same with your unconscious earth. So that's the one below it on the left hand side. Your unconscious earth is actually your deepest fulfillment, your soul level. Why am I doing this? What is moving me? What is driving me? What is creating this? Less about drive and motivation, actually, I'm going to say that. But what is really important to you? What is really important to you? And the reason why I said that is because, like, moon, I would say, is like the drive piece. But this is what is really important to you. Why are you doing the work that you do? When I work with people on their business, one of the things I tune them into, first of all, is never strategy. It's not actually even human design. It's, why is this important to you? And so your soul purpose in this energy will be linked to why the work you do is important to you. So when I look at my gates, like the gates for me are about simplicity and breakthrough. The radiance for me is about simplicity. If I am not creating simplicity in my life, my health suffers. If things are complicated, as soon as I start complicating things, by the way, I know I'm going through expansion. I'm like, oh, look at this treat coming up. When I'm not giving myself my purpose is around breakthrough. It's about insight. When I'm not really tapping into my alone time to be attuned with the breakthrough, then it doesn't happen. It doesn't support why this is important. And the reason why I do the work that I do is because mostly for the next generation, because I don't want the next generation to experience disconnection, disempowerment, suicide, addiction, depression, because I've experienced those things in my life. And so it's really important for me to do this work so that people don't experience that. And that is connected with that insight, that breakthrough, because when I have that alone time, that breakthrough will always support me with what I'm moving into. Okay? So when you look at this is your power sequence. When you start to understand how these come together, how they work together, how you get to link these energies together, because when you're working with, and again, I'm not going to go into the next level of this because it's too complicated without the slides. Mostly for me. I've just told you I'm all about the simplicity. For some of you, you're like, bring it on, give me the complexity. I'm like, no, it's not going to serve you because it's so out of alignment for me. But what is really important is that when you start to connect with these energies, with these gates, it is going to bring a deeper level of resonance to what is power, what is purpose inside of you. Okay? Once you have that, then we move into the passion sequence. This is, like I said, your emotional intelligence, your vulnerability, your resilience. A lot of this I see, and it's not linked to your centers in your heart space, but it is really this energy of being able to open to receive. I talk a lot about, again, in the feminine energetics, being able to open to receive. And a lot of us are closed down from opening to receive, closed down from being vulnerable, because it feels terrifying. And normally when we look at the energetics between the feminine and the masculine, we're opening to receive resource, or we're opening to receive love, or we're opening to receive, something that can feel like it's not always safe. from a feminine perspective, this opening to receive, if we take it back to the basics, I can't remember if I spoke about this in the last session, but we're going to go there again. When we go back to the basics of feminine and masculine, in order to create any miracle, you need the beautiful harmony between the feminine and the masculine. And I think the biggest miracle is a baby. Any baby is created when there's a beautiful mix of the masculine and feminine energy, even if it's not created in a beautiful situation. But if we look at what needs to happen generally, and I know that there are situations outside of this, but generally speaking, what needs to happen is that the woman, the feminine, needs to feel safe, to open to receive, and needs to have an energy of desire for the masculine to provide. Okay? If we do not feel safe to receive, it's very difficult for the masculine to provide. When we bring that back to energetics, if you are manifesting for money or manifesting for opportunities or manifesting for a relationship, you know, whatever you're manifesting for, if it is difficult to open to receive, then it's very difficult for anything to be provided. But most of us have been hurt and let down by the masculine in whatever embodiment that looks like, whether it's past relationships, whether it's our father figures, whether it's money, whether it's time, because money and time are the masculine energies. We have been let down or disappointed by the masculine energy, and so it feels safer to close down and go, I'm going to do this myself. I don't need the masculine. But in doing that and not having that vulnerability or that, that emotional resilience, what is actually happening is that you're stopping all the other things coming in as well, because you're not feeling safe. Any manifestation, any creation of anything requires a level of safety. This is why people do so much work on the nervous system and regulation. But it goes deeper, it runs deeper. We're holding it in our, not only the centers in our human design, but in this passion sequence as well. Does this make sense? Does this resonate? Let me know if you have any questions. For me, and I'll tell you a little bit about how you know if it's showing up empowered or not in a second. For me, one of the biggest parts of this opening and being vulnerable that I've had to move through is around abandonment. Because the small version of me, the child version of me, saw my dad leave to work. And he used to work away at the week, like in the week. So he'd be away in the week. And I was the eldest. And so then I would step into helping and supporting. And so there's a part of my story then that I held on to around, I always get abandoned by the masculine. It means I've got to do it by myself. Which then has played out in my relationships, which then has played out in money, in business success and all of those things until I could identify it. I had a whole story running around easy come, easy go with relationships, with men, with money, with time, with all of the things. And so I had to unpick that abandonment story and come to a place from where I can, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay. I can still open to receive. In fact, I did a whole training about online dating with human design. This is very interesting. Last year, I was in a very toxic relationship. And when as soon as I saw it, I left it. And I'm celebrating that because I haven't done that in the past with different relationships. And what was really interesting about that was understanding how much work I'd done on this passion sequence and my resilience and my vulnerability, because that experience did not stop me from being open and exploring different relationships afterwards. I didn't go into shutdown and think I'm not safe. All men are toxic, all relationships are toxic. I didn't go into that. I actually moved into my past doesn't define my future. Not everybody is this person, but that's because of this work. That's why it's so important, because it's not only in your business, it's all of it. So you know if this part of you is disempowered, if you are overgiving, under receiving. I call this like, the prostitution energy, and I've been there a lot of times. I've got a whole talk somewhere about I used to be a prostitute. But when you're overgiving and under receiving in your business, you attract clients who are a mirror of your disempowerment, where you're holding on to stories that don't serve you. You're wounding in a way. And it's also this fear of visibility, fear of vulnerability, fear of intimacy, fear of really claiming what it is that you desire, fear of opening your heart. But on the other side of understanding and embodying this sequence, you're able to tap into where is empowered in you. So you can open your heart to receive with love. You can open your heart to receive wealth. You can open your heart and be vulnerable. You can share what is in your heart. You can share what is in your awareness. You have this emotional resilience. You have this capacity to lead yourself and others with compassion. And you feel safe. You feel safe to be seen, heard, and accepted. It's very difficult to build relationships if you don't feel safe to be accepted, if you don't feel safe to share what is going on for you. I've got a friend actually, and we have a real depth of intimacy in our friendship that is really uncomfortable at times. And there are things that we say to each other, and actually, my thing in my human design, I have an undefined emotional center. And so doing this and being this can feel physically horrible. And so if there's ever a difficult conversation we have with each other, I will always bring awareness to the fact that I want to throw up. I feel like I want to throw up before I say this, and I will bring myself back to my power, and I will say the thing with love, with compassion. And in return, I will receive what she also has to share with me. We have deepened our friendship through some really tough times because we are both able to hold that level of intimacy with each other and give space to the other person and receive what they're saying, even if it's really uncomfortable, even if it's really painful, even if what they're saying is shining a giant spotlight on the shadows that you don't want to look at. This is what's really important when we're talking about relationship, not only in relationship to yourself, but also in relationship to other people. It is not always like when I think about friendship and I think about those beautiful relationships that I have, it is not always like, let's go for lunch, babes, let's go hang out, let's share memes. Yes, it's that, and it's also those messy conversations where you still have to hold yourself and notice where your inner child is coming in, or notice where there's a disempowered part of your intimacy that's coming in, where you want to shut down. For me, I will say to my friends, I need a minute because my inner child is going to have a tantrum. Let me just go process this, and then I'll come back to you. When my adult is in charge, when my sovereign is in charge, I will come back. And knowing that is super important. So once you have that, then we're moving into the profit sequence. And the profit sequence is all about your path to wealth, your path to lead, create legacy. It's ultimately what you're putting out into the world in a way that also gets to create prosperity and wealth for everybody else who gets to receive that too. So when this is out of alignment, you might feel that you're literally chasing the money, or chasing results, or having inconsistency in your reality. It could be where you're so focused on the short term, and I see this a lot in the coaching space as well, where it's like live launching, but there's no real longevity built into the business or sustainability, and that doesn't support you at all from a strategic perspective. And also, this is where it can show up as your business feels like pressure and not pleasure. Let's be honest. If you wanted pressure in your business, if you're listening to this and you're a business owner, you could be in a corporate job. Like, you wouldn't be doing this for yourself. The pleasure is super important. So when it's empowered, you become a frequency match for the people who are ready to work with you and the opportunities that support you. Your business gets to evolve sustainably and also in a way that scales. It's not like, oh, I can keep growing my business, but it's exhausting me because it's all one-to-one work and that's the only way I can grow, and I'm capped out at a certain point. It's not about that. It's about being able to create a business model that works in alignment with you, which is supported energetically by your profit sequence. That is really important. And then you get to scale in a way that feels natural and nourishing and beautiful and aligned. So I have a little reflection for you. What would shift if your business became a reflection of your energy and not your effort? What would shift? What would change if your business became the reflection of your energy and not your effort? Because that's the world that we're moving into. That's what we're stepping into. That's what the energetics around us are supporting us with. So I'd love to have you kind of just sit with that, be with that. I also have a gift with you because I know I've shared a lot of information and I know it can be overwhelming, particularly, I mean, it's a lot of information. And if you don't know the gates and all of those pieces, then I do have a gift for you. And that is a power report, which is going to focus on your conscious sun the most and break down. This is how it shows up for you. This is how you can tune into it. So if you would like to receive a copy of that report, then put power in the comments and I will send the link over to you later because I have a day of calls, but I'll pop it over to you later. And the other thing, if you have questions, please ask me in the comments. Please ask me in the chat what your questions are if you want a little bit more support with this. We have a lot of information about the gates in the human design community. So if you want to go deeper into specific gates, then that would be a really great place to look as well. And if you take anything away from this today, then I think even the reflection at the end is really powerful, because the world of doing and proving and pushing and hustling is not of service. Now, I will say this as a little caveat. I'm a generator. When I'm in flow from a place of alignment, it can look like hustle. And this is where you have to be really discerning in your energy, because for ages I was like, wait, no, I'm trying to move away from hustle. I don't want to be in hustle. And I made my energy wrong for being in alignment. And so what's really important is this embodiment piece. For some of you, still being like in the energy and being in the momentum is really important. For me, a lot of my astrology, human design, gene keys, all of the things are coded with power and movement and doing. So that is always going to be an important part of me. What is important is to recognize, am I empowered? Am I disempowered? Am I in alignment? Am I out of alignment? Okay. So when you can tap into that, that's really, really powerful.